I've been doing this for 17 years. Okay. 2009. Now, this is one of the best sessions I've sat in. Phenomenal session.
Now, what I've done is I have predicted the supply of Maritime City versus Rashid Yachts Marina. Maritime City as a total is almost 22 to 23 million square feet of land, where you have the commercial zone and you have the residential zone. Now, in 2024 November, Beyond, which is Omniyat's sister company, they introduced that they are going to be building 11 million square feet. So 8 million square feet will be developed by Beyond, 3 million square feet will be developed by Omniyat Group. They want to create a community inside Maritime City called as Jumeirah Peninsula, which is going to be exclusive for Beyond and Omniyat residencies. So Jumeirah Peninsula is going to be located at the tip of Maritime City. That is going to be exactly the place where to be, because the positioning in the whole Maritime City is better than, let's say, standalone buildings which are at the front. So if you look at Maritime City history, I know Zohaib used to talk about it in 2023, where price per square feet were less than 2,000 dirham per square feet. Now, obviously, in Maritime City, if you have to buy something on the sea, forget Maritime City. Even in Rashid Yachts Marina, last launch of Emaar, which was Vida Residences, Baystar, the 3-bedroom which was on the sea was almost 3,900 dirham per square feet. Right. So today, on an average, in these areas as well, 3,500 to 4,000 dirham per square feet is the price range. Now, talking about supply, the size is 11 million square feet. The community was introduced last year in 2024. The first residential building, which is called as Orise, Tower A and Tower B, completion date is Q1 2028. In terms of total buildings, so what Beyond has told me is there will be 3 phases in the whole of, let's say, Jumeirah Peninsula. You have the Cove, which is on the water. You have the Forest District, which is going to have a forest-themed community. And then you'll have the beach, which is going to be on the tip. Now, what Beyond has told me is there are going to be 11 to 12 residential buildings in total. There will be 7 to 8 on the Cove, out of which already 3 projects have been launched. On, let's say, for example, the Forest District, there are going to be 4 residential buildings. And on the beach, what I've heard is Omniyat will be introducing a Dorchester collection, high-end, let's say, mansions and villas, which are going to be 40, 50 million plus. And what these guys want to do is they want to launch products taking time, so that when Omniyat launches their products, they can launch it at 7, 8,000 dirham per square feet plus. That is the whole concept of what they're doing. Now, talking again about supply, the total supply as of now, purely which is in Jumeirah Peninsula, is 1,424 units. On an average, 285 units per building. Now, considering the future launches and considering what I've discussed with Beyond, on an average in that 11 million square feet, you will get around 3,759 to 3,800 units. Now, again, we go back to the total population. Again, we go back to if 70% of those are with investors, almost 2,600 units will come into the market in the next 4 to 5 years to absorb. And again, if you take, let's say, the average number of people in Dubai, which is 5, only 13,000 people can live in this community, which is Jumeirah Peninsula.
Sorry, I'm just asking, how are you driving the equation for average number of unit per average number of people per unit?
If you go on Google and if you say, let's say, per household or per basically unit, you will get that for Dubai it is 4.9, which means 4.9 people per, let's say, 1 unit. So I have considered 5 people per 1 unit. Now, obviously, let's say, for example, if you look at the unit economics on the current supply, 1 bedrooms are almost 50%. Now, obviously, in a 1 bedroom, 5 people are not going to be, let's say, living. So obviously that supply would get, let's say, lowered down as well. But this is a generic, let's say, figure where we keep it as 5 people to understand sometimes for a 3-bedroom or for a penthouse, 6 or 7 people might, let's say, absorb the units. So on an average, we keep it as 5, let's say, people. Now, here's the interesting thing. Now, why again in Maritime City, I have sold 2 and 3 bedrooms only. I've never sold a 1 bedroom. Purely because now this is one thing which I feel is the demographic trend is increasing. 2 families, number 1. Number 2 is, now if you look at the current supply, a 1 bedroom is almost 50% of the total supply in Maritime City in Jumeirah Peninsula, right? Earlier in Blue Waters and Emaar Beachfront, it was actually less. Now the 1 bedroom supply has increased. Even for the 2 bedrooms, let's say almost 40% supply is there, and the 3 bedrooms, it's only 9% supply for the 3 bedrooms in the whole of Maritime City. So that is again something like, for example, in Sensia was one product. If you understand the floor plan, Sensia had a total of only 278 units, and only 32 were 3 bedrooms. And all the 3 bedrooms were on the corner with the best unit or the best view possible. Okay, when I'm talking all about this, we understand supply. I go into floor plans as well. I go into units. I go into views. Because at the end of the day, for an investor, his unit or her unit, right? What is the genuine differentiating factor? What is your product value proposition at the end of the day? And this gives us a matrix about the community. See, a lot of times people ask me about supply and demand, and I show this to them, then they understand that this is genuinely the trend. And even this 3.98 to 4 million population, I am not even considering any increase in population in the next 4 years. I'm considering your deepest worst case scenario.
You say that 1 bedroom won't be a good option for an investment when we're talking about beyond.
See, I'll tell you, this is my own perspective on a studio and a 1 bedroom. So I look at it in a way that a studio and a 1 bedroom for somebody to resell in the future, the maximum chances would be 90 to 95%. An investor will take that to get something ready to make cash flow. Because here's how I look at the market, looking at families coming.
Somebody wants to do an Airbnb model. I feel from the waterfront properties, 1 bedroom to.
No, see, 1 bedrooms and studios are great for rent. I'm not trying to debate on that, they'll not generate rent. Because obviously of the lower ticket size, people would like to, stay in 1 bedrooms or studios as well. What I always believe is, okay, a 2 and a 3 bedroom, when you have to sell it to somebody, your families will enter. So obviously at that point, it is more going to be about the emotional return that they get. A 1 bedroom and a studio, it is going to be very hard in the future to sell it to a couple or a family. Because when somebody will buy an asset, they will buy for at least 10, 15 years of their life. If you're buying a studio and a 1 bedroom, you will buy it probably, let's say, to rent it out. So that's why, let's say, for example, a couple comes to Dubai, they might rent out a 1 bedroom for 1 or 2 years. But when they want to buy something, they need bigger sizes, bigger rooms. The second point, which I want to make specifically for Maritime City, because I've studied, let's say, all projects. Maritime City, it is very hard to get a 1 bedroom with a good view. As simple as that. In Maritime City, all the launches which Beyond has made, I would say there are only, for example, let's say, Orise there was not there, Sensia, Mural maybe, okay, fine, for example, maybe some, and then Talia, there was a 1 bedroom series, 0, I think, 7 or something.
Like a forest view or the ocean view or the cove view.
No, Talia was different.
Yeah, Talia, because they
Talia, half of the building was only 1 bedroom.
1 bedroom.
Any view you want. And 2 bedroom. Yes, some. Now from the upper floors, okay, like that's 40% was 2 and 3.
Those 2 and 3.
So in 1 bedroom, you can get any view you dream of.
See,
What I'm trying to say is, let's say for a waterfront community, what I've always seen is a 1 bedroom is a genuinely good product to start. See, somebody wants rental. Somebody does not want to deploy that much cash. But during resale, right, is what I, let's say, look at in the next 4 or 5 years, maybe a 1 bedroom versus a 2 bedroom, because a 2 bedroom a family can enter, the resale value proposition or the potential could increase for a 2 bedroom. That is what I'm saying. For a 1 bedroom, the chances of a family or somebody like an end user buying it rather than an investor would buy it. But when an investor wants to buy, for example, something for himself, he is going to look at the price and he is going to look at the rental. I'll give you a classic example. Arabian Ranches 3 pre-COVID was selling at 1.3 to 1.6. Today, transactions in Arabian Ranches 3 are going at 3 million. Still, transactions are going because a family can move in. The current gross rental for a 3 bedroom in Arabian Ranches 3 is 140 to 150. So somebody who bought then is making 10% gross ROI. If an investor has to enter Arabian Ranches 3 right now, he will calculate his profit and he will say that I'm making only 4 or 5%. I can put that on a bank and my, let's say, cash can be liquid. So my value proposition again is 1 bedrooms are a great tool of investment. I'm not denying that. But for my investors, or let's say my perspective is, if you have the budget, go for a 2 and 3 bedroom because you can target a bigger, let's say, audience or a market.
For an investor about the 3 bedroom, if he tell you, okay, instead of buying this, why don't I buy a townhouse or a 4 bedroom villa? What would we say at that point?
See, but I'll tell you one thing, okay, and this is exactly why I've done case studies for both townhouses and villas and waterfront properties, right? 3-bedroom waterfront properties have definitely shown appreciation as well, and they have shown better appreciation than 1 and 2 bedrooms. Because at the end of the day, there are certain European clients, there are certain clients which I have personally dealt with, which have bought for their end use because they love the water. They love the whole vibe of basically staying on the water. And see, at the end of the day, there are certain clients where they want to be connected to, let's say, the two CBDs, which are downtown Dubai and Dubai Marina. When you're buying into, for example, let's say when you're buying 5 or 7 million for a 3-bedroom or for a 4-bedroom, let's say, villa, you're buying it a little bit into the suburban community. So definitely it has its own advantages. And this is why we do a comparative analysis, because we don't ever project that, okay, you need to only buy a 3-bedroom for a waterfront. But let's say a 3-bedroom waterfront, which was priced at 5 mil, which has now gone up to 10 mil, versus, let's say, for example, a 5 million villa, which has gone up to 11 to 12 mil as well, right? What has been the case back then? Because every community is different, and what could be the case right now? So that obviously, I mean, that's the discussion we have.
I think just everyone is trying to justify why 1 beds in this particular location makes sense. From an investor's perspective, forget long-term rental, look at it from a short-term rental perspective. If you go into the details of this location, you realize one thing: the cruise terminal that is there currently, the Dubai government is targeting to make it the busiest cruise terminal in the whole of the Middle East. By the next 3 to 4 years, they are targeting a daily footfall of 19 to 20,000 people who are going to dock and then visit Dubai. So from a case of a 1 bed, an investor's perspective, short-term rental, I think Talia will make a lot of sense.
They have beach clubs, so that's going to attract
Yeah.
a lot of.
Again,
Maybe you missed my point. I'm not trying to debate whether a 1 bed can give you rentals. My game was long-term capital appreciation. I completely agree that a 1-bedroom short-term rental, even a 2-bedroom short-term rental is
1 bed, and our investor will be watching.
it's not. See, everything is comparative analysis.
Yeah, right.
everything that whatever I'm saying right now, whatever it is, it's a forecasted prediction based on patternized returns, right? It can miraculously change that the market for 1 bedrooms can shoot up, maybe then 2 and 3 bedrooms. So I'm not trying to say that, okay, it's a bad investment. I'm looking at my perspective on capital gains and appreciation. When Khalid said about townhouses and villas, the major driving force was families are moving. So the population demographic changes. It's not because there are bigger units and bigger sizes. It's a product market fit. If only students and bachelors come to Dubai, then all the studios and 1 bedrooms will get heavily appreciated, because the demographic change, has changed. That's why.
The more capital you put in the right product, the more appreciation you're gonna make. So if you if you dedicate a capital for a 1 bedroom, you cannot expect to make the same profit of the guy who dedicated a capital for a 3 bedroom. Yeah.
Or a 2 bedroom.
No, and it is also correlated to what I mentioned is the population trend demographic. Because if a product market fit, like say, for example, if there's a school, right, and you're building townhouses around the school, right, it will be very difficult, because that basically niche considers studios and 1 bedrooms more ideal, because there are going to be people of a certain economic division. So basically for somebody, it's a product market fit. And Dubai's product market fit, which I genuinely believe, at least for the next 10 years, because I believe that Dubai pre-COVID was a transit Dubai. Now it's a destination Dubai. People are actually moving to Dubai. Is going to be heavily families. And families need 3 things: more space, more rooms, and obviously a sense of privacy.
Oh, then just to add, to give you guys perspective, that total supply 2,600. That's like 70,000 in JVC. Just to give you perspective on supply, and then another perspective is, okay, 1 bed in Talia is like at what, 2 million, 2.5 million.
2.2 to 2.4.
We do is like we give a comparative analysis, right? Okay, 2.2 you can buy this 1 bed, or 2.2 you can buy a townhouse. What do you wish to buy? And then another cash flow analysis means, okay, 2.2 50-50 payment plan versus like an 80-20. What is the advantage? And that is why we can assess the ROE and the ROI. Finally, I don't know. Have you studied the Coral Reef project that's on Maritime City?
By Damak. Yeah.
No.
Oh, you're talking about the reef.
The reef that is coming, because that's another. So it was interesting when I went into the site of Maritime City, I saw they've started construction of the reef project. That'll be quite interesting. I think the reef and Lamer. All right, that's it. I think you should continue. Sorry.
So this whole exercise or this whole presentation, I'm ending it right now, because this was basically what I talk about supply purely. That a lot of times, yes, I still believe that waterfront properties, today, okay, buying a 2-bedroom in Talia for 4 million, right, at 3,000 dirham per square feet. And then somebody would say, but okay, I can get a 2-bedroom maybe in a Damak Hills 2 for 1 million, right? And the price per square feet is amazingly low. My analysis on the market is today, you cannot define a product just because, oh, the price per square feet is low. The price per square feet is low, amazing, but what is the product value proposition? See, today investors have invested almost 4-5 million in these 2-bedrooms, 3-bedrooms in Maritime City because they understand the future growth. It is not because I always say that you're not investing a number. You're not just investing 4 million and then you look at it however you want to look at it. You're investing in a product, right? So waterfront properties still today, I feel, are scarce. In Dubai as well, if you look at waterfront properties in the establishing coming markets, Palm Jabal Ali is a complete different game plan, and that is more of a longer term vision. But right now, when you have Maritime City, you have Rashid Yachts Marina, you have Dubai Islands as well to an extent, right? That's again a debate conversation which we can talk about later. But waterfront properties will retain value. Geographically, they are scarce in value. You cannot just keep on building and building. And on a psychological level, a lot of times, I mean, if you ask somebody, would you like to see a road or would you like to see the water? They prefer the water. Globally also, the report which we've made, which I've shared with you, is globally, Knight Frank report 2024. If somebody wants it, I can share. I've studied the report. 2024, they've picked up the top, let's say, 17 luxury cities of the world, and waterfront properties have given a premium of 49% more than inland properties of the top. And the interesting thing is, with London and its, let's say, obviously economic turmoil, London has still given 48% for properties on the rivers and banks of London with respect to properties inland. Miami is sitting at the highest with 93%. So waterfront properties, as even a global market, yes, is doing well. And we believe that Dubai obviously bringing so much, waterfront can be more.
Yes, understood. So, in a worst case scenario, right, when there is a correction or non-for, right, based on your analysis, waterfront versus, let's say, townhouse, even in waterfront, 1 bed versus 3 bed, right, which product type is less sensitive for such corrections? And in case if there is a bounce back, which one do you think would be the first one to? Because the ticket prices are very different, product pricing are very different, right? So, which should sort of absorb those kind of shocks slightly better.
This was said by Damak and beyond. I've yet to research this, but at least quoting what these guys have quoted. When the COVID, let's say, correction happened in Dubai and almost, I think, 30, 35, 40% market went down. What these guys are claiming is that waterfront properties went down by 10 to 12%. And obviously they bounced back up. Even for townhouses and villas, I think Zoeb also gave an example that established good communities like Springs Meadows, the prices did not budge. So one thing which I always see is, are there more end users also in that community which want to buy, or is it just an influx of investors? See, today, for example, something like a JVC, right? I see a lot of times there's a huge influx of investors because the whole psychic is it's rental, 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 rental. So when you have a huge influx of investors, no matter what the price, right? When there's a property correction, there's a lot of oversupply in that particular area because investors need to liquidate. So for waterfront or even for townhouses, when you're targeting a family-centric market, when a lot of families are moving, I believe that, okay, if a correction comes, maybe an investor with a 1 bedroom, for example, might panic hard because he's looking for more rental. Maybe somebody who's positioned it as a 2 and a 3 bedroom will not panic because he will absorb, let's say, that correction and then rent it out to families or sell it out to families. So it's more on that product market, or let's say on the product which...
Another important factor that people don't understand is timing of the market. Like, for example, Emaar beachfront now is offering an ROI of around 4%, maybe 3-4%. 5, you're extremely lucky, even though it's one of the best companies in the market, because at this point, a 1 bed is trading at around 3 to 3.5 million dirhams. If there's a market correction, okay, let's say in 2027, there's a market correction of up to 15%. When they're saying 15%, a person who invested in Emaar beachfront bought a 1 bed at around, let's say, 2.2 million, he doesn't get impacted. The person who bought it at the same trajectory, if you look at Maritime City, now if I bought a 1 bed at 2 million, let's say 3 years or 4 years down the lane, that same product is going to be on 3.5. That person will take a hit, not me. Yeah. Right? So it really depends. Market timing also, and then being able to differentiate between hype and reality. For example, in JVC, I know a developer who's selling a 1 bed at around between 1.8 and 2 million dirhams. Not even a very strong, again, quality of construction, another big factor. Now, Beyond is it's phenomenal in terms of quality of construction, right? Beyond Shobha. This guy was average construction quality. Now, that is a product that's going to take a hit. Now, that is a product that will 100% take a hit. I know so many products that is selling at 1.8 to 2 million, and now they're trying to liquidate it at 1.4 to 1.3. They're taking a hit.
See, basically 2020 to 2024, overall growth wise, Dubai had a phenomenal year. I mean, villas in terms, let's say waterfront, everything was, growing exponentially, right? I mean, even for consultants, people in Dubai, globally, they were not understanding how can it grow exponentially well. But in theory, obviously the market grew. I mean, now we're today sitting at average market price per square feet is 1600 if you look at DXB Interact. But there are still, for example, a few buildings, or there are still, for example, a few communities in that theory of growth. They never really saw genuine appreciation. They never could liquidate maybe their property at that price point. They could not, sell it because, the market was going up. Because this is what, I mean, obviously let's say my ethos is that it's not even just about the number. It is about the product market fit and that product. Because if I just buy something because everything is going up, right? Like, I mean, which people obviously say that, the market is going up. You can buy a 1 bedroom, I don't know, I'm not going to name the developer, but certain developers, and then it will also go up, right? In theory, even if your property grows up, so in real estate, I always say there are only 2 points which an investor has to consider. The point you bought, the point you sold. Because when you actually sell a unit, your value and then all your appreciation comes into picture. If you can't sell the unit, but the market is up and everybody is now quoting the market, it has no value proposition.
This is very interesting. So I have an example. Creek Harbour, last year, there was a phenomenal building called Creek Waters. Beautiful building, right? And I sold a lot of units over there. I have units, full water view, 2,500. And I never do this crap of like saying, okay, just pay 24%, I'll flip it for you. I never do that. But unfortunately, one of my investors came back to me and told me, can you liquidate it? Now the market price is 3,000. In fact, for water facing is 3,500. Can you sell it? I bought a 2-bed at around 2.5. Can you sell it at even 3 or 3.5? I couldn't sell it. I'll tell you why. Because unfortunately, this was released at the time of the Russia-Ukraine war. So a lot of Russian investors bought into this project where the brokers promised them that we'll sell it after you pay the down payment, then they disappeared. So there's so much of stock on the secondary market where they're selling it OP or below OP. So that is why this particular mix that he mentioned, 70% will begin, or like he's assessing 70, is because there is this X factor that we cannot even presume, right? And that is why choosing your developer is so key, because if it's a developer where there are too many investors as well, it becomes to take a big hit. That's why we try and find developers where it's more of long-term. See, Emaar generally have more long-term investors. There are some brands, like when you see like a 3070 product, and it's selling in an like let's say Production City or Science Park. The problem is 70-80% is investors, and then you'll face this problem again. So
I know, just to add on his point. So we had 3 investors last week, and I was talking about. So if you actually look at semi-governmental developers today, let's say the top 3, Nakheel, Emaar, Miras, right? Everybody, the number one pain point normally is the payment plan. Like Emaar is 80-20. I'm putting up 80% equity, upfront without getting a loan. So my analysis is, if you look at the semi-governmental developers, right, they kill, like Emaar, for example, they want to kill speculation in the market. So when you have 80-20, which means 80% of your equity has to be invested before you're eligible to get a loan or whatever it is. Even NOC policies. So for Dubai law is normally at least 30% has to be paid, then you can get an NOC. Certain developers, they say 40%. Emaar is very clear, it's only 50%. So even I remember Zoeb did a video where the guy, even he paid 24%, the investor paid the remaining 30% and the premium. So he had to pay that. There's no loophole, again, I can't quote these developers, but I've worked with them. But there are developers where, okay, it's a 20-80 payment plan, which is in theory phenomenal. Like if we do the numbers in 4 years, even if you grow by 5%, your return on investment is 100%. You put 20, you make 20%, right? In practicality, it is a very risky proposition. Because only 20% you're putting, okay, the developer, whatever in his cash flow is committing that 80% you put at the time of handover, it looks amazing, exciting. But okay, this is a developer new into the market, so they have to do these tactics. Otherwise, they can't compete with bigger developers. Second thing is now coming to the floor plans. The developer did not have amazing floor plans. They did not have a good track record. And you don't have to. So, for example, products like these as well, I genuinely believe if there's a market correction with the 2080 payment plan, right, everybody will try to, because with the 20NT, a lot of times these are going to be investors.
One point, okay? I want to go to the mind of the viewer who's pessimistic, who is feeling that we are currently beating around the bush. You know, we are discussing the micro market, let's go to the macro. Well, the whole concept that there's going to be a dip in the market by 15% in 2027 is because in 2025, 2026, 210,000 units going to hit the market. That's what Fish said, yeah. This information based on what? Who said?
No, this is what I'll tell you what Fitch did. This was based on their prediction of the units which were, let's say, launched 3 or 4 years back.
Who is more reliable when it comes to the Dubai real estate market? Fitch or DLD? DLD said until 2030, the units hitting the market, if no delays, should be 300K. And then they gave numbers. The number they gave in 2024 was 45,000 units. How much hit the market? 26,800 out of 45,000. So this is the best situation. Okay. Now, Fitch is saying no. Actually, what's going to actually hit the market by 2027, macro market, JVC. Macro market. Forget about the micro markets and all these things. I just want to get to the mind of that person and say these agents are beating around the bush. Get the good. No, we're not going to beat around the bush. Let's take 210,000 units hit the market by 2027. Set who? But like we take Fitch as a religious report. Definitely is happening. But if you compare it to any other report, any genuine report like Knight France is saying by 2029 it is 300,000. DLD said 30, but 2029 I can't accept. They can give 1 year delay for delivery. This dip of 15% based on the numbers. In case there is an extreme thing that happened like pandemic, that is something different. This kind of market, this 15% dip, if the population stops here, 4 million, it's going to happen in 2030. In case there is nothing outside control, outside factor. But like the point that we understand that there's going to be dip because of the supply that is going to hit the market. What is not any valuable source, I'm talking about DLD, saying that there's going to be 210,000. If now we are, by 1 year, we are 50% delayed. 45, 27, almost 50%. So based on what? Like there is the thing when we Fitch report, this is right. We're going to have a dip. Let's take to the micro market. Let's go to the good developers. This information is baseless. With all respect for Fitch, but this information is not based on DLD.
See, that's my exact point, right? Even with oversupply, let's say even if undersupply, let's say theoretically the market also goes in a linear direction. For example, my whole observation of the market is that, again, it is based on the product that, again, you select. Because see, today,
I agree.
Right, okay, if everybody, let's say, generalifies that, let's say, yeah.
My point, I agree. Like, if you select a good product, you're always good. You have something unique. You got something wonderful. No matter what happens, the supply is going to be less. Okay? But like, this thing is, like, when I went deeply on the study, I put Fish from where they got this information, and I check any credible source of report, they are saying numbers completely different from Fish, which made me question.
I want to add something. I want to add, or just specific on his point, okay? because we went to another topic about he was talking about these payment plans, right? 2018, and I'll come to that point as well. So there was a developer. Please beep out the name. Okay. Okay. So Dubai Islands, Waterfront. Like this is like the plot right at the front.
Yeah.
Okay. Right at the front. Now, 2 mistakes that investors did. One, the price was like at around 3,000 per square foot. One bed, the size was around 1,000 square foot. Huge one beds. Okay. And so they bought one bed around 3 million dirhams. And another mistake they did is that they didn't check the Dubai Land Department. Right in front of it, there's another building coming up. So technically, the developer sold it as full sea view. It was not full sea view. Now, most of the investors that got into it was at this 30-70 thing. They're like, oh my God, I'm getting full sea view, 30-70. I want to invest. Not a single person made profit. The whole thing came back in OP, minus OP, desperate buyers. Please remove the developer. I don't want a case.
Yeah.
Right? But see, so this is a huge. So doesn't matter, scarcity rule, whatever. Now I'll tell you another big developer, big issue that I'm facing. Again, even with the Emaar guy, I didn't face a developer because I told him initially itself he'll sell on handover. No, handover will still make profit. Creek Waters, because of the power of Emaar. And we bought at the right price, right timing, everything was perfect. Again, please beep out the developer. yeah.
And Creek Water 2 were the two best products till date in the whole Creek Harbour.
It's like investing in a Rivana or
Yeah, correct. Avina.
You won't go wrong.
Yeah,
You can't
correct.
go wrong. Now,
That price.
for the next level price as well, this is just for everyone's understanding, just to explain. So, Showdown Elwood, or maybe you can keep the level. So Showdown Elwood phase 1. When I'm trying to, so I had a crisis. UK investor, he bought one of the best 5 wells, okay, 9.2 million, facing a forest, beautiful unit. And he lost the floor plan, everything's perfect. But he had an emergency situation in the UK where he's trying to liquidate his funds, banks have blocked it, having big issue in selling funds. We tried to sell it. I had a buyer as well. Okay, I had a buyer. But he was like, I have this 50% on resale, right? I have to pay 50%. Okay? Showdown's next launch, the price is pretty similar. So I had no advantage. Emaar, like, so for example, I still have an advantage. I'm buying at 3 million. If I buy a waterfront property, it's probably at 5 million. A 2-bed, I have an advantage. With some developers, you don't
Correct.
have an advantage. That's another issue we'll have to face. There are several parameters
Correct.
assessed before getting into, and
One big thing.
it's crazy. So,
Last month I had the same issue.
yeah.
Last month I had a lady, she bought, this agent of 24% I'm gonna flip. Okay. So she bought, and that project which is facing the big Harbour, Showboat one, I know.
Yeah, and elements. You have Shubha 1 and then elements.
So she bought a 1 bedroom, and I think like with the DLD and all stuff around 1.7 million. The challenge is getting inside the creek is 1.5 secondary one. Okay, so it was at 24%, I'll flip it at 2 point something million. And then, like, of course, he couldn't do it. So she reached out. And when I tried to sell, like, in this, like, the resale was 1.1, 1.2. And to get OP is 1.7. You have my point. So, the challenging part is this one. Then you launch, like, Shoba sold it at around 1.6 something. Then you launch 1 bedroom, they sold it same size at 1.3 million. I told her, sorry. What can I do here? Same, like at the end, I don't know what happened to her, but that is the challenge, is that when you go and then you drop the price.
No, and all the parameters make sense. Good floor plan, great location, phenomenal quality, supply is less, everything is fine. But unfortunately, here you have to wait. You cannot sell. If you try sell before, you will take a hit.
Yeah.
You will have to wait. So there are, but the thing is, see what I love, I've been doing this for 17 years. Okay. 2009. Now, this is one of the best sessions I've started. Phenomenal session. I think when they all these clap hands.
Oh.
But the thing is, but this is the objective. Now when he talks, I wouldn't mind investing my money with this guy. It feels like it's something
was talking about, and it's zero bullshit, right? It's an amazing, right? Phenomenal. I mean, nobody understands this. nobody will understand these numbers,
The fact that he's put up this, which means he probably understands 80% more. Like
Exactly.
curated version.
Yeah.
So you spent 1 hour.
Phenomenal session. I had a call at 12. I canceled the call because I wanted to stay in it was so good, so good. Phenomenal job.
When you are to start through all the presentations so far, I think I've done for control, maybe just one. Available. He's the one that has generated the most release. Yeah.
Well, see, I mean, the whole perspective is, even when you ask me, look, again, on camera, I mean, it's not like a one bedroom is bad.
Yeah, exactly,
You buy a
yeah.
2 bedroom, right? Again, see, it's a perspective.
Definitely.
And I actually tell my clients that, see, there are certain clients where I've sold 1 bedroom. This one. It's not that I've just sold 1 bedroom.
Each one has its
But
strengths and
See,
weaknesses.
Strengths,
it's
yeah.
the client objectives. Not really when Web says it's more about the client objective.
Objective,
Right? It's
yeah.
not one shoe fits all. Like you
Yeah.
can't just say that, oh, you have 5 million. I have a client who said, okay, 5 million, let's spread it into 5, let's say 1 bedroom of 1 million, or should I go for something like a farm room or something, right? Then you compare. Okay, maybe if you're building like an Airbnb portfolio, if you're looking at this, right, that's fine. But if you're genuinely looking at capital appreciation, I have a client who's told me that 6, 7 it's capital appreciation. I can invest big, but it's capital appreciation. Then obviously I can't tell him that buy a floor of 1 bedroom. Then if we look at something like, for example, an Oasis, right, which genuinely has that kind of value proposition.
Definitely.
So the whole idea.
Today morning, and Yash were just discussing that some of the shittiest areas in Dubai has the best ROIs.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, okay, I can probably beat this out, but International
City. Yeah.
Azizi Riviera, best bloody ROIs, you know. So
And you see the layout
I
in
didn't
Azizi
think
is that.
gas has this best hose in Azizi Riviera, you know, and he was like the best place, you know. So can I resell it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the ROI
ROI is amazing.
so then you can develop a different strategy where you're like, okay, they were selling it at a 50-50 payment plan. Yeah, one bed is 1 million. You put in 500,000. Now the value is going to 1.5. Do an equity release.
Yeah.
You know, you can develop a different strategy for such a client. You know,
Definitely.
so this is why it's always about a discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have by the way, I have a client for Aziz Rivera. Worst place. Worst place.
See, you're selling what is best holes.
Currently, okay, he's now looking to sell worst place. Thank you for the information.
Probably won't sell. Ask us. Ask
Yeah, thank you for the
Gas
information.
station. Probably has different answers.
No, that's the power of the location, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.